Tonight on World News, target Libya. Today, the United States enters its third military conflict overseas. Firing missiles into Libya, joining a coalition of 21 nations. So what will Muammar Gaddafi do? What are the risks to the U.S.? And what about Gaddafi's threat to bomb airlines? Tonight, disaster in the Pacific as those frightening aftershocks continue. Radiation turns up in the Japanese food and water supply amid signs of progress at the nuclear reactors.
From ABC News headquarters, this is ABC World News with Diane Sawyer.
Good evening. It was a history-making day for this nation, a nation still at war in Iraq and Afghanistan. The U.S. has now joined a third battlefront, firing missiles into another Muslim nation, Libya, a coalition of 21 countries trying to stop Muammar Gaddafi from waging war on his own people. Before the attack, there were dramatic images of a Libyan military plane brought down, not clear how, as Gaddafi forces continue to descend on the rebel strongholds. But what is at risk for the United States tonight, and what happens next? Our team has been reporting on these big events all day, and we'll begin with Martha Raddatz in Washington. Martha.
Diane, the U.S. and its allies said they would protect the people of Libya, and that's what they're trying to do tonight. But there is no question we are at war once again, and the U.S. for now is in the lead. The first volley of missiles, a withering attack on Gaddafi's air defenses. More than 110 Tomahawk missiles launched from mostly U.S. ships and submarines pounded Libyan surface-to-air missile sites, aiming at more than 20 targets around Tripoli. The missiles were fired from some 500 miles away in the Mediterranean Sea just after 2 p.m. Eastern Time, hitting Libyan soil an hour later.
These strikes were carefully coordinated with our coalition partners. The targets themselves were selected based on our collective assessment that these sites either pose a direct threat to the coalition pilots or through use by the regime pose a direct threat to the people of Libya.
There were no U.S. aircraft involved in today's strikes. Before the Tomahawks were launched, 20 French fighter jets flew over rebel-held Benghazi in a show of force, taking out one Libyan armored personnel carrier. The Tomahawk strikes will continue on Tripoli, Misrata, and Sirte. There will be no strikes east of Sirte, where the rebels are in control. This is just the first phase of a multi-phased operation. U.S. General Carter Ham is in charge, with Admiral Sam Locklear on the USS Mount Whitney coordinating the actual strikes. But once this initial phase of the operation is over, Ham and Locklear will pass command to a coalition partner.
I want to stress, however, that this is just the first phase of what will likely be a multi-phased military operation designed to enforce the United Nations resolution. This is an international military effort, urged by the Libyan people themselves and by other Arab nations.
The next phase will be the no-fly zone, which will be over Tripoli and rebel-held Benghazi, an operation that will involve hundreds of aircraft. U.S. F-16s will take part, but most of the fighters will be from Britain, France, and other allied partners. The U.S. will provide support aircraft like air refuelers, communications aircraft, and jammers, so Gaddafi's troops cannot talk to one another. The first phase is supposed to last just a few days. What the U.S. military is watching closely tonight is how the Gaddafi regime will react to these attacks and what kind of response that might require. Diane?
And we have more on that coming up. Martha, you and I have been consulting all day with retired Colonel Stephen Ganyard, a former Marine pilot who has enforced no-fly zones, and he joins us now. And Colonel, how long did it take, that very first action with the Tomahawks hitting those sites?
Literally minutes, Diane. These are sites that we've known about for a long time. If we look at the map here, you can see that these are fixed sites. They're sites that have been around for many years. We've been able to plot them over months, if not weeks, and we know what we wanted to hit. These are where the initial Tomahawk strikes have hit. The next thing we need to worry about are the mobile systems, the surface-to-air missile systems that can move any place within the country. It'll take us a couple days to find those, fix them, and knock them out before we can have coalition airplanes flying overhead Libya.
But if we have coalition airplanes flying overhead, does that guarantee protection for the rebels?
It does guarantee protection. I am concerned about what's going on in Benghazi. Again, referring to the map, the Libyan forces are pushing up from the south and pressuring the rebel stronghold in Benghazi. My fear is if Benghazi falls, it could threaten the rebel organization and threaten the rebel movement. So it'll be very important to have coalition airplanes supporting the rebels and making sure that the Libyan forces do not overrun the city of Benghazi.
A lot of tricky passages ahead. We thank you, Colonel Ganyard. And of course, one of the big questions is, who are the Libyan rebels that the U.S. and the coalition forces are now fighting to protect? Alex Marquardt is with the rebels in eastern Libya. Alex.
Good evening, Diane. Tonight, the rebels got exactly what they've been pleading for weeks: international air support against a much better armed Gaddafi forces. And tonight, the rebels feel like the tide is once again turning in their favor.
A fighter jet plunged to the earth today as the opposition capital of Benghazi came under attack by Gaddafi forces. They launched an air and land assault on the city just before the international military operation went into effect. Dozens were reportedly killed in the attacks, including children.
This is the blood of kids. One of them is 5 years old and one of them is 4 months old. And these were actually in attack today.
The voice of Mohammed Nabous, better known as Mo, a beloved opposition figure who was shot and killed by Gaddafi forces today. The rebels facing them are led by a former Special Forces general who defected from Gaddafi's government. But the rank and file on the front lines include thousands of untrained civilians who saw victories in the early days as the front moved west and have recently seen many of their brothers fall. Scared, many fled the fighting today, heading east towards Egypt. But there have also been scenes of jubilation as news of the military operation spread. Our will and determination are stronger than his tanks and airplanes, this man said. The rebels will be victorious.
Tonight, Colonel Gaddafi went on television saying that all civilians and militaries committing aggression would pay the price. He also said he's opening up weapons depots for all Libyans to defend Libya. Diane?
Alex, I want to ask now Jake Tapper at the White House and Christian Amanpour, anchor of This Week, about those things. Christian, let's start with Gaddafi. Defiance again tonight. Has any nation given him an exit possibility, something he might accept?
Well, there's certainly been negotiations even before all this started, before the no-fly zone, to try to get him to step aside, but he's refused. One of the complicating issues is that his possible war crimes have already been referred to the International Criminal Court, and that basically leaves him no way out, beyond that fact that he's always said, I will not leave.
But, Jake, limited intentions can lead to long wars, as we know. What is the White House saying about an exit strategy, a firm exit strategy?
Well, President Obama told congressional leaders yesterday that the kinetic activity that the U.S. is involved in, the fighting, will be a matter of days, not weeks. Then, as Martha reported, the U.S. will come back to a support role for other countries to enforce that no-fly zone. So they do not envision a long-term military commitment, just rather a long-term, perhaps, support role in this operation.
And, Jake, what have you learned about the trigger for this action now? It seemed to happen very quickly once they switched positions.
On Tuesday, two things happened that changed President Obama's mind. One, he got intelligence from the front indicating that Gaddafi's forces were not retreating. They were going to go and show no mercy, as Gaddafi put it, on the citizens of Benghazi. And he said, what we're doing, the diplomatic efforts, are not working. Then, two, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton told him that Arab countries were willing to step up and provide a military role, the UAE and Qatar, and that changed things. That was the tipping point for the president.
So, Christian, how much does that change things around the world with the U.S. now involved in military action in a third Muslim country?
Well, interestingly and unusually, this one has been led by the French and the British. In fact, the United States was brought to this because of the forward action of the French. And what's happening is they're saying that we cannot sit back and watch these people being slaughtered, and trying to send a message that now that these democratic uprisings are going on in that part of the world, the West has to be on the side of the people, and President Obama repeated that in his speech tonight.
Always volatile, though, as we know. Thank you, Christiane and Jake, and a reminder that Christiane will have a lot more on this tomorrow morning on This Week, and her guest will be Admiral Mike Mullen, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The attack by the U.S. and the coalition partners surely will degrade Gaddafi's conventional forces. But the Libyan leader, as you heard, has threatened not only defiance, but to retaliate, even bringing down passenger jets. His regime did that once before, so how serious is this latest threat? David Muir joins us now. David.
Diane, I asked that very question of the intelligence community today about those planes, the risks, and could Gaddafi actually seek revenge in other ways? I sat down with a 25-year veteran of the FBI, a former special agent who worked counterterrorism just a short time ago here.
The Libyan leader made that threat, any military act against Libya, and consider all air and maritime traffic in the Mediterranean Sea targets for a counterattack, namely planes.
Going into this, we knew what Gaddafi's threat was, but can he carry out on that threat?
Well, he certainly has the will to do so. The big question are his capabilities. He doesn't have the capabilities that he used to have. Militarily, they're limited. Large-scale biochem attack, I don't think so.
So when he talks about taking out planes,
I think his ability to take out planes is very limited. That's why we are taking out his air defense systems. He doesn't have the aircraft to do that.
But one of the real concerns for the intelligence community tonight is Gaddafi's ability to try something overseas, perhaps in this country. Could he carry out an assassination?
Can Gaddafi use his vast resources, and I'm talking about money, to hire people who would carry out some of these assassinations? That's a question I'm really troubled by.
And he's done this before.
He has. He has killed people in the UK. He has killed people in France. Obviously, Lockerbie. He has the revenge motive in his mind. He's got a tribal instinct, and he will do it. If he has the chance to take revenge against the United States, he will do it. He's vengeful, vindictive, and he is a proven killer.
You've worked in this arena for years. Are you concerned about al-Qaeda's tentacles finding their way into Libya after Gaddafi? Are they supporting the rebels in any way?
Al-Qaeda will take advantage of any stability that it sees in that region, and it will find its way in. It's inevitable. The problem Al-Qaeda has right now is its numbers. It doesn't have the ability to take over a large movement of this. It's being driven by a younger cadre of people who are not going to be satisfied with the old echelon, namely Al-Qaeda, coming in and trying to reject their freedom. This is what this is about.
So, David, he was talking about assassination revenge. Specifically what?
Real concern about the revenge. As you know, Diane, the Libyan intelligence community has for years been programmed to pinpoint anti-Gaddafi people all over the world and wait for Gaddafi's orders if they come. The question tonight from the intelligence community is, where will their allegiance fall as they begin to watch this vice tighten around Gaddafi? Will they stick by him, or will they start to leave, as the rebels have?
All right, David, thank you, and we'll have more on Libya ahead. But when we come back, Japan. Now, radiation showing up in the milk and spinach, even 90 miles away from the damaged reactors. And other news of the day here in the U.S. The moon, as we haven't seen it in 20 years.
This is ABC World News with Diane Sawyer, brought to you by TD Ameritrade.
People have all kinds of retirement questions.
No problem. TD Ameritrade has all kinds of answers.
Call us for quick help opening your new IRA.
Or an in-depth talk with a retirement expert like me.
Stop by my branch for a free retirement checkup.
Retirement hows and how muches.
Wins.
And what ifs.
Bring them on.
It's free.
You're gonna retire.
And we're gonna help.
Retirement Answers at TD Ameritrade, where millions of people trust their retirement investments.
Ever since people learned I use Restasis myself, they want to know more.
Why aren't artificial tears enough for me?
They provide temporary relief. With continued use, Restasis is the only prescription drop to help increase tear production, which may be reduced by inflammation due to chronic dry eye. Restasis did not increase tear production in patients using anti-inflammatory eye drops or tear duct plugs. If you make more of your own tears, you may need those other drops less. Restasis should not be used by patients with active eye infections and has not been studied in patients with a history of herpes viral infections of the eye. The most common side effect is a temporary burning sensation.
Go to Restasis7.com for a $20 rebate.
Ask your doctor about Restasis today.
A fiber that is taste-free is a welcome change. A fiber that dissolves completely is clearly different. Benefiber is the easy way to get more fiber every day. That's the beauty of Benefiber.
I've had asthma for 11 years.
But my symptoms kept coming back.
Kept coming back. Then I found out Advair helps prevent symptoms from happening in the first place.
Advair is for asthma that's not well controlled on a long-term asthma medicine, such as an inhaled corticosteroid. Advair will not replace a rescue inhaler for sudden symptoms. Advair contains salmeterol, which increases the risk of death from asthma problems and may increase the risk of hospitalization in children and adolescents. Advair is not for people whose asthma is well controlled with a long-term asthma control medicine like an inhaled corticosteroid. Once your asthma is well controlled, your doctor will decide if you can stop Advair without loss of control and prescribe a different asthma control medicine, such as an inhaled corticosteroid. Do not take Advair more than prescribed. See your doctor if your asthma does not improve or gets worse.
Is Advair right for you?
Ask your doctor.
Get your first prescription free.
Advair helps prevent symptoms.
From the big news out of Libya, we turn now to Japan, continuing to battle the aftermath of that earthquake. And tonight, new proof that the effects are reaching into Japanese food. David Wright reports from Osaka. Good evening, David.
Good evening, Diane. Thankfully, the catastrophic meltdown that everyone fears hasn't happened yet. Firefighters on the scene trying to cool those reactors down are making progress, but radiation has already made it into the food supply. Those brave men struggling to extinguish this nuclear tinderbox are still working around the clock, pouring on the water to cool the reactors down. At reactor number 3, the most toxic of all, the only one where the fuel mix contains volatile plutonium, they've blasted more than 1,800 tons of water, enough to fill an Olympic swimming pool. Japanese officials say the tank containing those fuel rods is now completely covered, and the radiation levels have started to drop. But already, radiation has leached into the food supply. Milk and spinach from local farms now have radiation levels exceeding the maximum for safe human consumption. And in Tokyo, the drinking water now has small quantities of radioactive iodine. Officials insist the levels are low enough that people would only be at risk if they consumed those products over a lifetime, but that's not so comforting. Not that grocery store shoppers here can afford to be choosy when so many shelves are empty. At hospitals and nursing homes closest to the reactors, hundreds of elderly patients are stranded. The medicine ran out, so did most of the staff, leaving these critically ill people largely to fend for themselves. But in the hardest hit areas, signs of life. Remember that boat that crashed into the bridge? Now people cycle on past, as though it was always there. This cycle shop is doing a brisk business, fixing flats, because there's so much debris on the roads. The couple that owns this shoe store held a massive giveaway. Too dirty to sell, he says. And while a Japanese camera crew filmed them cleaning up the damage, a surprise visitor and a rare show of emotion. Her sister and brother-in-law. Each was convinced the other was dead. The trauma from the quake and the tsunami are still huge, but looming over it all are concerns about that reactor and the radiation. And as you know, Diane, harmless traces of radiation have even made it as far as California.
That's right, David. And even though they may be harmless traces of radiation at this point, there is another effect we are feeling, and that's the economic fallout. Orders for Japanese cars are being delayed because factories are shut down. Prices for all kinds of electronics, including flat-screen TVs, are spiking. And there will be shortages even for Apple's iPad because so many of the components are made in Japan. Coming up, we'll tell you about a wounded warrior who is sharing his badge of honor with Congresswoman Gabby Giffords.
Stay with ABC News for the latest details and complete coverage of disaster in the Pacific. And to find out how you can help the victims, go to abcnews.com/help.
Osteoporosis treatment, no big deal. So I have to wait up to an hour just to eat or drink. I've got time to kill.
Yeah, right. I'm a working woman.
And I'm busy.
Why should osteoporosis therapy disrupt my morning routine? With new Atelvia, there's no wait.
Unlike other osteoporosis medicines, Atelvia has a delayed-release formulation, so you can take it right after breakfast and help protect your bones. Do not take Atelvia if you have esophagus problems, low blood calcium, severe kidney disease, or cannot sit or stand for 30 minutes. Follow all dosing instructions. Stop taking Atelvia and tell your doctor if you experience difficult or painful swallowing, chest pain, or severe or continuing heartburn, which may be signs of serious upper digestive problems. Tell your doctor if you develop dental or jaw problems, as serious jawbone problems have been reported rarely. Also, tell your doctor if you develop severe bone, joint, or muscle pain, or any hip, groin, or thigh pain, as unusual thigh bone fractures have been reported rarely.
With Atelvia, the mornings are all mine.
Talk to your doctor about new Atelvia.
It's 2011. Wonder where the Durango's been for the last 2 years? Well, it toured around Europe, getting handling and steering lessons on those sporty European roads. It went back to school, got an advanced degree in technology. It's been working out, more muscle and less fat. It's only been 2 years, but it's done more in 2 years than most cars do in a lifetime.
We take it a day at a time. That's how it is with Alzheimer's disease. She needs help from me and her medication. The Exelon patch, it releases medication continuously for 24 hours. She uses one Exelon patch daily for the treatment of mild to moderate Alzheimer's symptoms.
It cannot change the course of the disease. Hospitalization and rarely death have been reported in patients who wore more than one patch at a time. The most common side effects of Exelon patch are nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. The likelihood and severity of these side effects may increase as the dose increases. Patients may experience loss of appetite or weight. Patients who weigh less than 110 pounds may experience more side effects. People at risk for stomach ulcers who take certain other medicines should talk to their doctor because serious stomach problems such as bleeding may worsen. People with certain heart conditions may experience low heart rate.
Whenever I needed her, she was there for me. Now, I'm here for her.
Ask the doctor about your loved one trying the Exelon patch. Visit exelonpatch.com to learn more.
Makes me want to change lives.
So inspirational.
Don't miss this show.
Truly unbelievable.
Oh my God, so good.
Incredible.
Wow, amazing. Best show on television.
America's in love with the feel-good show of the year, Secret Millionaire. All new Sunday, 8/7 Central on ABC.
And tonight we remember a top U.S. diplomat. You might remember his face. Warren Christopher has died. He was President Clinton's first Secretary of State. He helped negotiate peace in Bosnia and also the NAFTA trade agreement. He honed his skills spending time trying to negotiate the release of the Iranian hostages for President Carter, and then went on to lead Al Gore's presidential recount fight. Today, his successor, Hillary Clinton, called him a diplomat's diplomat who left America safer and the world a more peaceful place. Warren Christopher was 85. And an honor today from one person injured in the line of duty to another. Army Sergeant Al Lee sharing a Purple Heart he earned in Iraq with Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords. He presented it to her office the other day, and today one of her staff members traveled to Houston to deliver it to her at the hospital where she is still recovering. And tomorrow spring arrives, ushered in tonight by the biggest, brightest full moon in 18 years. We all have to go out and look. It's the so-called supermoon, a coincidence of two things. The moon comes closest to the Earth in its egg-shaped orbit just as the full moon peaks. So look up as the moon begins to rise in the sky or as it sets tomorrow morning for your supermoon experience. And when we come back, we go back to Libya, inside the city of Tripoli. Did the people there know today those Tomahawk missiles were thundering around them?
Women move the world, move our families forward, move us all to a better place. And Caltrate moves us. Caltrate knows 80% of us don't get the calcium we need, and when we don't, our bodies steal it from our bones. Caltrate helps put it back with 1,200 milligrams of calcium and 800 IU of vitamin D. Women need Caltrate. Caltrate helps women keep moving because women move the world.
Sure, you know oil and natural gas fuel transportation and comfort. I bet you didn't know oil and natural gas fuel American jobs. 9.2 million of them. Now that's fuel for our economy. Log on to learn more.
To my grandkids, I'm Nana.
I'm friend, secret keeper, and playmate. Do you think I'd let osteoporosis slow me down? So I asked my doctor about Reclast because I heard it's the only once-a-year IV osteoporosis treatment. He told me all about it, and I said, that's the one for Nana. He said Reclast can help re-strengthen my bones to help make them resistant to fracture for 12 months. And Reclast is approved to help protect from fracture in many places. Hip, spine, even other bones.
You should not take Reclast if you're on Zometa, have low blood calcium or kidney problems, or if you're pregnant, plan to become pregnant, or are nursing. Take calcium and vitamin D daily. Tell your doctor if you develop severe muscle, bone, or joint pain, if you have dental problems, or if you develop new or unusual pain in your hip, groin, or thigh. The most common side effects include flu-like symptoms, fever, muscle or joint pain, headache, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea.
Share the world with the ones you love. And ask your doctor about Reclast. Once-a-year Reclast. Year-long protection for on-the-go women.
I'm that guy that doesn't take directions. I had a heart problem. I was told to begin my aspirin regimen. I just didn't listen until I woke with pains in my chest. I almost lost my life. My doctors, again, ordered me to take aspirin, and I do.
I make sure that he does it.
Aspirin is not appropriate for everyone, so be sure to talk to your doctor before you begin an aspirin regimen.
I encourage everyone to listen to the doctor and take it seriously.
Learn more about protecting your heart at IamProHeart.com.
Think more oil means more oil wells? Well, with advanced drilling from a single location, we can now tap oil and natural gas over there, and there, and there, increasing our energy while decreasing our impact. Log on to learn more.
In 2 days, 11 new stars make their move. And with a cast this unpredictable, it's anybody's game.
Are you ready? It'll have to do.
Dancing with the Stars 2-hour premiere event live Monday, 8/7 Central on ABC.
And we want to return to the breaking news tonight out of Libya. Those 112 giant American Tomahawk missiles raining down on Muammar Gaddafi's missile sites all around Tripoli. So it was surprising to us to learn what was going on with the people of Libya inside the largest city. So a short time ago, we spoke to one of the few Western journalists in Gaddafi's stronghold of Tripoli, Alan Little of the BBC. So Alan, was there any warning? What happened when the missiles hit?
No, there wasn't. And in fact, here in Tripoli, we didn't really have any sense that the country was under bombardment. We haven't heard anything all evening. That is not to say that there haven't been targets on the periphery of the city or beyond the periphery that have not been hit, but certainly inside the city, everything tonight seems very calm, very normal. There's traffic on the streets. You certainly don't get a sense that this is a country that has been bombarded by more than 100 missiles and dozens of airstrikes.
Do you have any sense whether this is being broadcast on local television, radio?
Oh, yes, very much so. In fact, all day state television has been preparing public opinion for this by showing images of the Iraq War of 2003 and its aftermath. Lots of very bloody images, lots of images of ordinary Iraqis being maltreated by Allied personnel, by Americans and others. So the Libyan government is very good at issuing one kind of message for the domestic audience, if you like, and something quite different aimed at the international community.
Well, again, Alan, thank you for being with us at this moment, and we'll be checking back with you as this proceeds in a Tripoli that is eerily calm as it's encircled by missile fire. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Diane.
Truly strange. And that is world news for this Saturday. We're always online at abcnews.com. And don't forget GMA first thing in the morning and David Muir right here tomorrow night. For all of us at ABC News, thank you for watching. Good night.
You want the world? Well, here it is. The ABC News app for iPad. Spin it, shake it, and with just one touch, you get world news with Diane Sawyer. So take a spin now and get the ABC News app for iPad. Your world in your hands at the App Store.
And the greatest movie of all time is...
America voted in 10 incredible movie categories.
Tom, the envelope, please.
So what was voted Best in Film and what didn't make the cut?
Wow.
Best in Film, Tuesday at 9/8 Central on ABC.
If you're planning to remodel or replace your old windows and patio doors, now is the right time. And Marvin is the right choice. With endless sizes and styles to fit any project perfectly. Start your project off right with your guide to remodeling and replacement. Get it at ymarvin.com.
Replacing the windows made it feel like a whole new room.
See your local Marvin retailer today.
Visit Westside Door and Molding on Sepulveda Boulevard in Los Angeles.
Whew, these sure are challenging times.
Whoa.
No one likes a bath tissue that leaves lots of pieces behind. That's why there's Charmin Ultra Strong. With a diamond weave texture that's soft and more durable than the Ultra Rippled brand. It's no wonder Charmin Ultra Strong holds it better for more dependable clean.